That's a terrifying one. All right, I'm just behind the scenes getting Facebook Live set up.
You're going to share something, right? I should wait to share my screen until after you're.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Well, hi, everyone. We just got set up for our Facebook live stream too. So welcome, welcome. You're here for the first event of the 2021 Fox Cities Book Festival. Woohoo! And we're just going to share a little bit about the book festival before we begin, because, you know, we're excited to have you join, whether you've been here before or whether this is your first time. These. Woohoo! So for those of you who don't know, this is our 14th annual Fox Cities Book Festival. Every year in October, we have an awesome lineup of different events that connect writers and readers. Yay! So this year it is from the 13th to the 17th. This is our second year virtual, but we look forward to one day seeing you in fall in person. So we have many community partners and volunteers who make the Fox Cities Book Festival happen. This includes public libraries, schools, universities, bookstores, and community individuals. We're very fortunate that all of those listed here and more, they have donated to keep the festival going in multiple different times and ways, because we value that the arts, and we know that it can change a life to have that connection. And that is why we strive to keep all of our Fox Cities Book Festival events free and open to the public. So thank you to everyone who makes that possible. And if you would like to support the festival, you can donate online or on our website, on Facebook. You can mail us a check. You can ask us for more information, and the QR code will make it easy. If you like to use QR codes, you can take a scan of that and that'll bring you to donate as well. We appreciate anything and everything, and also the time that you spend with us is also appreciated too. We do have our rules of conduct and our statement of responsibility. I'm going to give you a second to read that. Do you know we're monitoring the chat? So if we do observe any behaviors that do not follow this, we will have to end your time with this event. But now it's going to be the moment you've been waiting for. We are so excited to have Nick Shire of Heartbrain here for us. A little bit about Nick. Nick is a storyteller who first lived in a little town called Patawaukee, Wisconsin, with their 16-year-old mother and her mother and her mother. They were raised on the smells of cheese factory labor and tobacco and the taste of Mulberry's American cheese, ramen, and half-colonized fry bread. After that, they grew up mostly in trailer parks and campgrounds. At the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, they earned their BA in English with minors in social justice and creative writing, and interned at the LGBTQ Resource Center, and found out that they were dyslexic shortly after they earned their MFA from Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont, focusing on creative nonfiction. Mostly they studied storytelling as a route to social justice. Nick is currently a proud resident of the Fox Cities, Wisconsin, where they live with Lucas, Monster, Boogeyman, and some wicked looking spiders. obviously a fun house there. And there was a mouse in the garage. They have experience as the ED of a nonprofit organization, waiting tables, teaching in higher education, customer service, editing, writing, and some other things. So really, Nick does everything. Heartbrain is their favorite dream, built by the magic of relationships, rooting to the community, some amazing weird structures, and students, and a lot of books. Really, we're just so excited to have Nick. You've probably seen Nick at some of our other events, but I'm gonna pass it over to Nick now. Nick, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Aubrey. It's always interesting experience to have an introduction read about you. So I'm thankful that everyone else here doesn't have that experience today. While I pull up the screen here, I just want to welcome you. I'm Nick Shire again, the director of Heartbrain, and I'm really excited to be here today with you. Let's see if it lets me share here. Aubrey has generously offered to monitor the chat. So whether you are on Facebook, or you are here in Zoom, please feel free to participate via chat or unmute yourself and just participate. And we'll make sure that somebody is reading that out so no one's losing track of the full conversation. I want to, before we move into the workshop and I give you an overview of what we're going to do today, I just want to say, so the topic is 365 writing prompts and other prompts to myself. And I want to be really transparent about the fact that you're not going to learn anything profound here today. What you have done by coming here, by choosing to attend, that's already the hard work. Everything else is just us offering an hour, a space to be together, to remind ourselves why we write, to reconnect with our writer selves, or to fully connect with our writer selves for the first time. We're going to talk about the kinds of things that we all know, and we just forget them as we live a life and as we experience a global pandemic and as we move through the world. So we're just going to remind each other of the things we know and try to build a plan to not forget them in the next 12 months. So just so you know what you're getting yourself into today, the outline, we're going to do some introductions. This will be on Facebook Live, as Aubrey mentioned. So if you're not comfortable putting anything in the chat, if you don't want your name read out, if you don't want to participate that way, that's absolutely fine. You need to do whatever's comfortable for you. We'll go over some writing motivations. We'll talk about the benefits of journaling, and then we will move into working on our plan for the next 12 months. What are we going to write, and how are we going to make sure that it's possible? So first, I'm going to ask folks to introduce themselves if they're comfortable, both in the Zoom chat and on Facebook Live, just so we know that who we're sharing community with. And so we can get started with that question of what am I here to do and how am I going to make 12 months of writing happen? So your name, your pronouns, just the way you want us to refer to you so we can make sure that everyone's treating each other with respect and not having to make assumptions to do so. So your pronouns might be she, her, hers, they might be he, him, his, they might be they, their, them, anything, any way you want us to refer to you if you have a great idea and we want to lift it back up. And then what's something you're going to write in the next 12 months? So I'll go first because I'm asking you to do it. My name again is Nick Shire. My pronouns are they, their, them. And something that I'm going to write in the next 12 months is I'm committed to writing one poem a week for at least 10 of the next 12 months.
All right, we're watching the chat as well, but I can go next. I'm Aubrey Laux. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and something that I'm going to write in the next 12 months would be I have a goal of writing 2 short screenplays. Woo!
Awesome.
All right, we have one from Quinn. Quinn says she goes by she, her, and she is unsure about writing anything.
Okay, awesome. That's a good place to start. Please feel free to keep adding yours in. I'm going to move to the next slide, but we'll keep bringing those back up if you add them in. So how does writing become part of regular life? That's really what we're asking. If we're saying we want to write year round, we're saying, how do I integrate writing and the practice of writing into my daily life? So in order to do that, we're going to need to set some writing goals, which we'll start to do together at the end of this workshop. And I'm going to read, I know everything's on the screen. I'm going to read everything that's on the screen out loud, just because not everyone reads and not everybody reads in English. So I just want to make sure everyone who is joining us today can fully participate. So in order to set writing goals, we're going to give yourself a minimum daily word count, some kind of goal. Start writing for 10 minutes every day, maybe record your word count in a daily writing diary. So when we meet those word counts, if we're not recording it, we can't see the progress we're making. Maybe blog once a week or increase your readership by 10% if you're a blogger. Submit for publication once a month if you're wanting to get your work out into the world. Any goal that makes sense for you in your writing. The second component of making sure that we're writing as part of our regular life is setting deadlines. So some examples of those deadlines might be to set a due date for each chapter of your book, to determine how many poems you'll write by the 31st of each month, or the 30th or the 28th, depending on the month, right? When will you regularly publish blog posts? Are you committed to blogging every month? Are you committed to blogging bi-weekly, once a week, once a day? What's your goal? When will you finish editing? So when you're all done writing, that's fantastic, but then the next step is editing. And when do you want to have that done by? And what day does the project get sent out into the world? That can be a goal that we set first and then we work back from. So we're making sure that we know when we want to get this out, or if we're trying to submit to a contest or a project that a magazine has going on, then we can move back to that to set our other goals. Did someone else join in, Aubrey?
Yeah, we have Liz. Pronouns are she, hers, and she wants to write or start an adventure novel. Thanks for sharing, Liz.
Awesome. I'm excited to read what you're all writing when we get to the end of our 12 months or however long it takes. So a big component of making sure that writing becomes a part of the daily life is getting out of the way of ourselves. At least it is for me personally and most of the writers I know. So one thing I'm going to suggest is just write and then worry about editing later. That's a separate goal. That's something we do separately, but just make sure you're getting yourself writing. So things we're going to ignore for now: spelling, grammar, format, misplaced modifiers, coffee stains, adverbs of degree. So put really, put very, don't have any verb variety when you're starting out, that's fine. Go back and add that in later. Just keep the flow going. And we're not going to really worry about our introduction, our attention grabber. If we didn't start with one and we've already got writing going, just go with it and come back and work on that introduction and conclusion. Find a good space for writing. So some potential places of inspiration or things that can offer inspiration: music, background noise. Some folks can't focus in silence. Humans, especially other writers, nature. Some of the things that make it exciting to write are a new pen, a comfy chair, a good space, a quote board, and some potential distractions: a TV, a phone. Humans, of course, can be a distraction. Also, even other writers, and background noise, of course, can be distracting for some of us. So make sure that you're considering what works for you. If we just keep trying to show up to write at a coffee shop, or we just keep trying to write maybe at our dining room table or on the sofa, and we're just not finding ourselves writing, it can be really about making sure that we have that intentional space set up where we can thrive and we're not being distracted constantly. Be present with the writing process. So some ways we can do that is really just being in the moment of writing, or the hour of writing, or the 10 minutes or the day, whatever it is for us, and not getting lost in the giant picture. So if I want to write 10 months of poems, I can't just keep saying, oh, I only have one poem done, I only have 2 poems done, and get frustrated and give up because I'm not going to get to the goal. So we might measure it by word count, number of poems, number of blog posts, minutes writing each day. I'm just going to write 10 minutes each day, 5 minutes each day, and that's what my goal is. And sometimes it's good to just measure it by how you feel. Does it feel good to be writing again, even if you can't see work toward a bigger goal yet? And some ways that cause instant anxiety is to measure by that book, right? Like, I don't have my book done. I have a page of my book done. That can be really overwhelming. And also, when we're really conditioned to produce, our feelings can be something that cause anxiety when we're checking in with ourselves. And we need to talk ourselves out of that anxiety and check in with logic a little bit and just say, no, I'm working toward this goal, and nobody writes a novel in one day. Create a writing habit. So choose a time that works regularly, whether that's Tuesday afternoons or every morning at 6 a.m., whatever works in your schedule. Maybe it's only once a month right now, that's enough. And then your next goal can be figuring out how you fit it into your schedule twice a month. Put it on the calendar and schedule other appointments around it. So if you see it on the calendar, it is an appointment, a commitment, and you're not going to just schedule something on top of it like, oh, I'm just writing so I can meet with you then, or I can go to the doctor then. Don't stand yourself up. You're counting on yourself. You're here because you want to be writing. So make sure that you show up for yourself. And if you're running late, still show up, because you want this goal. You want that to happen for yourself. And it's okay if you do 10 minutes today instead of an hour, instead of no minutes today, right? Write like it's a verb. You're a writer, and now you just need to write. That's the only thing you need to do to make that true. So sometimes we sit around and with the weight of calling ourselves a writer, of trying to be a writer, we let imposter syndrome sneak in, we let all kinds of noise sneak in. And really, we are writers. We just need to write. And that's all we need to do to make it possible. Connect with other writers, join a writing group, or make one if you don't have one available to you, either in your genre or your geographic location. It can absolutely be online. I know a lot of us are not going out into the world right now and generally might not like going out into the world anyway. So make that writing group online if you want connection, but you're not really up for meeting with folks in person. Make a goal for NaNoWriMo. So every November, writers worldwide commit to writing 50,000 words that month. 50,000 words can be an intimidating number, but if we shoot for the moon, we might land again amongst the stars. So just commit to write while everybody in the world is writing, and do what you can toward that 50,000 word goal. Put a sticky note on the fridge when you've completed a writing goal. Make sure that you're proud of yourself and that you see it regularly, and the other folks who go to your fridge regularly see it too. Take an online course with your favorite writer. That's one of my favorite silver lining bits, if there are any silver lining bits over the last 2 years, is that so many of our favorite writers are offering writing workshops right now for really inexpensive, sometimes free. So look for that online. See if your favorite author is offering a writing workshop right now, and hang out with them for a while. Take an online course with, tell your cats what you're up to. So just talk about what you're doing. It doesn't have to be connecting with other writers. It doesn't even have to be connecting with other humans. It doesn't even have to be connecting with other animals. Tell your plants what you're up to. Just talk to yourself about it on your way to work. Make sure that it becomes a part of your day, that you're connecting with yourself and others. Remember the other essential steps of the writing process. So sometimes we get stuck, and the thing that we need to do is actually stop writing and let our brain process and catch up to what we're trying to get on the page or on the screen. So go for a walk or a ride, read a book, listen to a podcast, do the dishes, dance. And my favorite way to get unstuck if I'm trying to write and I just can't force it, is to make art that I'm bad at. So I can't paint, but I love to paint. I can't really sculpt, but I love to get my hands in clay. And when I'm doing this thing that I need to focus on because I don't know how to do it, or I'm doing this thing that I don't need to focus on because I'm so ridiculously bad at it, it doesn't matter how much I focus, then all of a sudden the writing process is able to happen without me trying to force it. Another thing to do when you're getting stuck is to find another good spot. So our good spot's been working, but it's become part of the routine. And now we need something else. Maybe we need to people watch. Maybe we just need a new scene. Maybe we just need to get out of the ordinary routine and remind ourselves, like, this is a commitment to myself. This is a date I'm having with myself, and I'm going to refresh and do it again. The library is always a great place for writing, a local coffee shop, outdoor seating at a restaurant. There's tons of that right now. A park bench, someone else's couch. Some of my greatest writing has been done cat setting or dog setting, and I'm able to just, I have nothing to do there, right? Like if the ceiling needs to be painted, if the carpet needs to be vacuumed, that's not my responsibility. And so I can just focus on writing someplace else. By the river, at nature, in a park, in a state park, those are great places to find good writing spots. Write anything else. So if I'm trying to write these poems, if we're trying to write this adventure novel and we just can't make it happen and it's been days and we're getting frustrated rather than enjoying writing, send out a tweet and feel good about that because you accomplished the entire project in one sitting and it was just a handful of sentences. There's a character limit, which is fantastic. Use a prompt. We'll have some prompts after this and I'll share that a little bit later. So all of us will have access to a prompt a day for the next 365 days, which is really awesome. And we can engage with them as much or as little as we want to. Write something that has a specific form. So force yourself to write something, a sonnet, a ghazal, something that has a haiku, something that has a very specific set of rules that you have to follow. And so you're focused on that and shifting the way your brain thinks about writing. Journal. I'm saying this is full of vitamin D because it's full of health benefits. It's full of writing benefits. It's full of cognitive benefits. Journaling is like the best thing you can do for yourself. And I don't know if you know this, but it is writing. So even if you're not doing anything else, if you're journaling because you can't write, then you are absolutely writing. Write a love letter. That can be a great way to get vulnerable in different ways. Let your guard down, put your guard up, and find a new avenue for writing. Or find somebody to guest blog for. Everybody is looking for guests for their blogs and their podcasts to keep them fresh. And if that's something that you want to consider trying, but you're not there yet, doing a guest spot is a really great way to do that. And make sure that you tangle writing with your everyday life. So how is writing reflected in your life? Not just in your writing space, not just during your writing time, but how do you remember that you're a writer when you're not writing? So some ideas, put an idea board above the sink or above the TV, someplace where you are frequently enough to look at it, but not where you are all the time where it's going to become part of the wall. And make sure you change it up. Put a bath crayon in the shower by the bathroom mirror. I always hear folks saying that their best ideas are in the shower, right? So find a way to write it down while you're in the shower. Come back to it later. You don't have to write in the shower, of course, but once you've written it on the wall, you can take a picture with your phone, you can come jot it down later and then wash it off. Listen to a writing podcast on your run or on your drive to work. Make date night about writing, attend a virtual reading or go to a poetry slam. Go to the library. Figure out how to record audio writing notes on your phone. I'm saying figure it out because I'm not great with technology. I'm much better with words and people than I am technology. So it might be difficult, but I'm sure there's a how-to. But once you figure out how to do the audio recording, you can record notes when you're driving. You can record notes while you're doing the dishes, while you're going for a walk, whatever you're doing, you can bring that into your daily life. And subscribe to a writing publication and then actually read it. Because how many of us writers subscribe to a really awesome writing publication and then have a stack of them that we turn into some sort of paper mache in the future? I absolutely do that. So make sure that you're engaging with those publications that inspire you. High five yourself. When you reach a writing goal, no matter how small, find a way to celebrate it. Maybe that's buying a new journal. Maybe that is going out to dinner. Maybe that is just putting a star or, a woohoo note on the fridge. Maybe that's calling up somebody and letting them know, posting about it on social media, but make sure that you're pausing to celebrate. And Another great way to make sure that we're engaging with our own writing is being inspired by and engaging with the writing of others. So make sure that you're reading, listening to, and watching other art. I'm going to ask folks to put in the chat if you're comfortable on Facebook or in Zoom the title of the last inspiring, thoughtful, meaningful thing that you read, listened to, or watched, or all three. And I have mine here. The last thing that really sat with me that I read was Andrea Gibson's newsletter, Things That Don't Suck, the one called Approximately Exactly. And I actually don't know anyone who read that who didn't cry. So be prepared to cry if you decide to look it up. The last thing I listened to that I'm listening to regularly and loving is the podcast We Can Do Hard Things. It's really fantastic. And it's been inspiring me in all kinds of ways. And the last thing I watched was Midnight Mass. The writing is phenomenal. I'm also going to let you know that a few of my friends said that it was terrifying as some other shows and films that had come out recently. And every episode I kept saying, you know, I don't think this is terrifying. This isn't scary. I don't know why everyone's saying this is terrifying. It's also true that after I finished the last episode, I had the first nightmare that woke me up from my sleep since I was a small child. So be warned that it is a scary show.
All right, we have Quinn who said she read the reading list. And then Rachel said that they read Claudia Gray's 10,000 Pieces of You. Last listened to was Taylor Swift, and watched was Criminal Minds, all 15 seasons.
Woohoo! What was Quinn's reading?
Quinn's reading was the reading list.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. What about you, Aubrey? What was the last thing you read?
The last thing I read was, I did a double reading of Night Bitch, which that author's coming for BookFest, Rachel Yoder, and then Hell of a Book, also BookFest, Jason Mott. And those were both phenomenal for different reasons. I highly recommend.
Awesome. So the other thing that we want to do is just remember fully why we're writers, why we committed to this project, what idea we had. So why do you write? Are you writing because you want to create a new world and build a space that's different than the world we live in? Are you writing because you have a truth you want to share with other folks? Why are you writing? Are you writing because you enjoy it and you like the way you feel when you're writing? What do you want to say? Who do you want to connect with when you're writing? Who are you hoping reads what you have to say? And what are you going to create? What's that final project that you're hoping to create? So I've said journaling is full of vitamin D, which is true. Some of the benefits of journaling, and if you email me, I will give you the studies behind all of these. I didn't include them here because it's not really our focus, but it feels important for me to share with everyone in 2021 how just good for you journaling is. It sparks creativity. I think we have experienced that as writers. It improves memory and comprehension, increases self-confidence, boosts our mood. It actually physically heals our bodies. There are all kinds of studies specific to specific organs or skin that show advanced healing and quicker healing when we're journaling regularly. Improves our communication skills, enhances our emotional intelligence, reduces stress and anxiety, increases success in achieving goals. It brings about self-awareness. I guess the anxiety bit is important to me because we have it there twice, reduce anxiety again. It lets us identify patterns in our thought processes, in our lives, in our writing, things that are important to us, that are interesting to us. Improves immune system function, helps injuries heal faster again, improves sleep, and it helps us to find our voices. So now we're going to pause here and work on the writing goals that we have for the next 12 months. So I'm going to put into the chat, Aubrey, are you able to put the, oh, did I give you the link? I just attached it. Never mind. So I'm gonna put a link in the chat if you are in the Zoom. If you open that up, it's a PDF. You're going to want to open it. You're going to want to download it on the top right-hand side of the screen instead of just opening it, because otherwise we'll be typing into the same document. But otherwise you can just write on a notebook or type onto your computer. And we're going to answer the questions for ourselves. Why do you write? What do you want to say? Who do you want to connect with? And what are you going to create? Before we move into answering the questions about our project and our deadline, and how that's all going to happen in the second half of October or whenever we're able to get started, let's just start with those questions. Why do you write? What do you want to say? Who do you want to connect with? And what are you going to create?
And then just in case that link was not going through to everyone, I did just put it in the chat for everyone too. So you can click it if you want to reference it later too. But we'll have a link to that after the session is done. You get a follow-up email saying thanks for coming, and we'll be sure to have that link there too.
Do we put the link on Facebook, Aubrey? Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And if anyone hasn't registered and they want it, you can email me. You'll have my email address at the end and I can send it over to you too. Once you have those down, if you're interested in sharing them with us, go ahead and put them in the chat. It'll take about 1 more minute to jot those initial ideas down. Okay, we're going to keep going forward. If anyone wants to share one or any of the ideas they put down, go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to share mine. And so mine is really about, why do I want to write? That's the thing that reminds me that I need to reconnect with it daily, that it's important to me. And it's 2 reasons, really. One is because I feel like there are holes in the collective narrative. There are stories that are missing. And so I want to bring those to the world, whether they're my own or the stories around me, or there are fictional stories that exist but aren't being told. I want to hear that on a national platform, on a global platform. And the other is, I feel joy and peace when I write, and I really want to bring more joy and peace to my life. And so being committed to that means being committed to writing. Now we're going to move forward to what is our project? So what is the first thing? We identified some of those at the beginning of this. So what do I want to work on? We know what those are. When do I want to have it done by? My project deadline. And so it's okay if you don't know. I think when you were saying you don't know what you want to work on right now, that's fine to leave those open. So then we'll move into, what is my writing goal? And what does that look like then? It's okay if you don't know what you want to accomplish with that goal, but you know that you want to start writing. So does that look like writing for an hour a week? Does that look like writing for 10 minutes every day? What does that look like for you? And then what is my writing measurement? So am I measuring by an increase in how many people are reading my blog? Am I measuring based on how much I'm writing a day? In making sure that I'm meeting that end goal. If I know that I'm writing something that is going to be a certain number of pages, do I have a number of pages I want to reach each day, each month, each week, whatever it might be? Just offering space to make sure that we can do the thing that we committed to do, which is come here today and engage with why we want to write. So I don't want anyone to feel rushed or like they're going to have to figure all this out when we get done today. Just want to make sure that there's time to fill it in as we go.
One piece of feedback we received is from Quinn. Quinn said, I think I'll start simpler and write letters to my friends and family. Thanks for sharing, Quinn.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of my favorite things to do when I'm stuck on writing, is to just sit down and write cards to folks. I'm going to ask folks to share the next one if they're comfortable. And that's, what's your writing space? So if that's a writing space you already have that you know is good for you in writing, or if that's a writing space you're dreaming up and going to build toward in the future, what's your ideal writing space?
I know for me, I have two. One, I feel more inspired at a coffee shop, but I also write later at night. Coffee shops aren't always open that late, so I want to make my desk space really comfortable.
Awesome.
Liz said that the coffee shop or their porch.
Those are fantastic writing places.
And
I
then,
feel, oh, sorry. go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, you can go on, Nick.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I always want to write in nature. And like, I'm always, whenever I'm on a walk or something, I'm like, okay, that's a perfect writing spot. Like everyone else is exercising there. And I'm like, that's where I'm going to write. But I also tend to write at night. So like sitting in pitch black next to a river maybe is not the best writing spot.
That sounds like good inspiration, I suppose.
Yeah.
We have Rachel. Rachel said writing is a part of my full-time job, so I can get burnt out fast. I might try the write for a certain amount of minutes a day, and my ideal writing space is my bedroom late at night. And then Lynn shared currently the ideal space is a computer in the back foyer.
Awesome. Yeah, we all have this place that we're drawn to that feels like this. I think it's true about reading too. Like that's the perfect place to read and that's the perfect place to write. And so making sure that we're creating those spaces for ourselves is important. I think it's also important, Rachel, I hear you saying you write for your job, and that can be really difficult to make sure that you're writing for pleasure and writing for yourself when you're writing all day at work. So the writing space for me becomes a really important component of that then. How is this different? How does this feel like I'm not at work, like I'm getting a break or I'm doing something for myself? And if I'm using a computer and I'm using a computer at work, maybe I'll use a journal instead or a notebook that I really like and change it up a little bit. So the next two are writing time and editing time. This measurement can be whatever it means to you. So it might be, I'm going to write 1 letter a week, or I'm going to write on Tuesday afternoons, or I'm going to write every morning at 6 or every evening at 9, whatever it is, whatever you need to note down for yourself to commit to, that's what we're asking for here. And the reflection and planning time is similar to that. This is really the time for you to assess. For me, it's monthly. If I'm scheduling my goals monthly and making small progress toward those goals each day and each week, then monthly is when I just pause and say, okay, how did I meet my goal? Is it a reasonable goal? Do I need to make a smaller goal? Am I easily meeting my goal? Do I need to make a little bit of a more challenging goal? And then how do I adjust my future plan? So if I am writing every Tuesday for 2 hours and that isn't enough time and I'm not being challenged, then where am I fitting in additional hours? And how do I adjust my schedule to make sure that I'm fitting in what I need? And then one thing I'll say is sometimes we get in the groove and this kind of planning works and then we don't need it anymore for a really long time. And that's fantastic. But then what happens is somehow we fall out of it, right? That's what we're talking about today, is that we're doing fantastic. We don't need, plans like this. I'm just going to write and it's going to feel great. And that's where that reflection and planning time really helps me to see what's happening before it's all the way happened. So I haven't completely stopped writing, but I'm, ignoring that I've committed to this, and I can adjust and make sure that it fits into my current daily life and that I'm not trying to force something from a previous version of my daily life. The next one, connections with other writers. That's something we're doing today, and I'm really grateful to be connected with you all and talking about what we're going to write. I was genuine when I said I'm excited to see what you all write, so I hope that you'll share it with our community so that we can connect with it. So today is one way that we're all connecting with other writers, but if you're interested in sharing in the chat some other ways you connect with other writers to keep you inspired and keep you going.
We have feedback from Rachel. Rachel said, I found a good group on Twitter that I can chat with throughout the year. Hashtag #MWriting.
That's fantastic. Yeah. This accountability and connection that feels not too, you're not too accountable to this group, but you're definitely accountable and connected to folks. I'll also invite folks to share with us right now, any things when we were going through these lists of things that might work for folks, things that you do that definitely work for you that you would like to share with other people. What's made writing easier? What's made it easier to connect to daily writing or regular writing in your lives? Or what kind of tricks do you have, like bath crayons or quote boards or idea boards?
As we wait for feedback, one thing I've noticed is if I talk about any ideas I have or writing goals I have with other people, I feel like I might even ask them to like hold me accountable to my goal. I think just even speaking about these other things help.
Absolutely, thank you. And it's part of it is being accountable and sharing that with somebody who is also excited about it. But I think part of it is just voicing it, right? Like getting it out of you, which is why I'm saying, seriously, like tell your cat what your goal is, tell your plant what your goal is. Because once it's out of you, it becomes a real thing that you can engage with.
Rachel said that she's bought a typewriter keyboard to help keep me focus when writing. I like the clicky sounds. That sounds amazing, Rachel.
Sounds very amazing.
And then Liz says, I had been part of a writing group, but it wasn't all that organized. I would love to be a part of a group that was helpful. And Liz, as a side note, I do know of a couple groups that are local that might be up your alley. So if you want to, at the end of this, perhaps send an email to info@Foxy's Book Festival, I'd love to connect you with the couple that I've heard about.
That's awesome. So I think that's really important and a thing that happens often, right? Like writers have a hard time making sure that they're writing. So we get into writing groups with other writers who have a hard time making sure that they're writing. And it's really fantastic until we all forget that we're supposed to make sure that we're writing, right? Collectively, and it kind of dissolves. That's happened to me many times too. I think that's where it really comes into like the reflection and planning time. Like we all want to write all day, every day, right? Like, well, that's a huge assumption, but we like to write a lot and we want to write maybe more than is possible. But maybe if we adjust our goal a little bit and we're just writing 15 minutes every day, we're actually going to end up writing a lot more because it's manageable and it feels positive rather than really weighty. So the next question we have here is, what am I going to read, watch, listen to? And I'm really interested in your ideas here a little bit selfishly because I need some inspiration too. And I'm wondering, I have the list of things that you already mentioned that you finished, but I'm wondering what you're looking forward to watching or listening to or reading. I have a stack of books that need to be read, and I'm wondering what yours is. Or who are you looking forward to? What panelists from the book festival are you looking forward to hearing from?
Quinn said that she's looking forward to listening to other writers through this event. So the week, thank you. And then Rachel says Midnight Mass. Also looking forward to season 2 of The Witcher. I personally am looking forward to the Wes Anderson French Dispatch that's coming out. Every Wes Anderson movie is so colorful and quirky. It leaves me inspired with characters.
That's awesome. I love the space where folks are inspired. It really is contagious. So I think that I'm reflecting right now in this moment that I not only need to engage with my own plans of writing and not only engage with my own interest in what I want to read, watch, listen to, engage with, but I think I need to connect with more folks around what they're excited about, what they're inspired to listen to, or what they're reading. Here's the tough question I think most of us leave off. We tend to do it sometimes if a huge deal writing thing happens, like publication, and sometimes then even we forget to celebrate. How are you going to celebrate throughout this process?
Quinn says wine.
That's a celebration tool that lots of folks use, for sure. I think I'm going to try something that a new way to integrate writing into my daily life is I'm going to celebrate in a way disconnected from writing. So maybe gift myself something to make more bad art with, or something that keeps me going and keeps me peaceful and joyful so that I can keep coming to writing. What's one way that you're going to tangle writing into your daily life? If you're not already, and if it's not exhausting part of your professional job. What's an additional way that you're going to, if that's the case, what's an additional way that you're going to find ways to make writing for yourself more peaceful or joyful?
As we're waiting from the chat, I think you definitely brought up a good point about putting it even on the calendar or counting it as an appointment, because it's so easy to be like, that's my free time. In the chat, Liz said starting the morning off with a short writing session. That's awesome, Liz.
Really awesome. And I think, Quinn, your commitment to write letters to friends and family already integrates it into your life, right? You're connecting with folks who you want to connect with in your daily life. So you all have the document, and if you don't, we'll get it to you. So please reach out to either the Fox Cities Book Festival or me. You'll have my email on the next slide, but you'll have a document for the next 12 months. So you'll have the second half of October here if you want to get started right away. Otherwise, there's 12 full months after that. And it's really just a space to do this, to reflect on why do you write? What do you want to say? Who do you want to connect with? What are you going to create? And then how am I going to make that happen? How does that need to change monthly? So I'm not going to fill mine out for the year. Maybe I'll fill in like the project or some deadlines each month to keep myself moving forward on different projects. But I'm really going to reflect at the end of each month and not fill out the next month until I get to the end of that month and say, okay, what's working, what's not working? How do I adjust here so I can stay committed to this? And then at the end of that document, there's just a reminder of some of the things we talked about on the previous slides. Like if I'm stuck or if this isn't working, what are some things I can try? What are some ways that I can try to get out of this pattern and into a new one? The other thing that I shared with you is that there will be a writing prompt for 365 days starting today on Heartbrain's Facebook and Twitter accounts. So if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling like you want to engage with a writing prompt, but you know the books that you have on writing prompts are collecting dust and you don't really want to look for one, you just want this really easy, accessible place to just find a writing prompt whenever you need one, just pop over to Heartbrain Facebook or Twitter, and then you can do that writing prompt. It's a way we can keep each other accountable. We can just add in the chat. It doesn't have to be anything about what you've written more than I'm engaging with this writing prompt today. I did this one, I liked this one, I didn't like this one. Or this is the, even sharing your work there. This is the piece it led to. And then we can be in conversation with other writers regularly, at least for the next 365 days. And so I'll share today's writing prompt with you all as a parting piece before we move into the planning. And of course I had it up and it disappeared here. Let me find it. And it is on Heartbrain's Facebook and Twitter already, so you can find it there. But today's writing prompt is to write about a conversation you've overheard. Any genre, journal entry, poem, essay, short story, dialogue, whatever you want it to be. It could have been this morning or one you've been carrying with you since 1984. And the other suggestion is, if you're not really feeling that writing prompt, is to just set a timer for 13 minutes and free write anything that comes to mind. I really appreciate you all. I appreciate you for being here, for sharing some of your tips with us. If anyone has any more tips, we'd love to hear those in the chat now. And I'm also grateful that you're writing in the world. It's a lovely thing, and I'm glad you're gifting it to yourself and others. Again, my email address here is at the bottom, nickshire@heartbrain.org. You can contact me if you need the writing plan. I can send that over to you if the link isn't working. And then Aubrey, will you give the email address again if folks want to contact you about the writing groups?
Yes, that'll be the General Fox Cities Book Festival. I'm going to put it in the panel or in our chat as well, but info@foxcitiesbookfestival.org. Luckily at this time, that will go straight to me, so you'll hear from me ASAP. And that also goes if you need anything from the book festival. So know that that's not exclusively for the writing group.
And book recommendations?
You know, I am always down to share some.
It looks like we have something else in the chat here. Oh, that's what you put in the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for writing with us. I look forward to reading what you're writing and hopefully seeing you at some of the other book festival events.
And thank you, Nick, so much for being here with us. I have thank yous coming in from the chat as well. We all appreciate the time and inspiration you've given us. And then for everyone watching at 4 o'clock, Nick and I are back. We're going to focus on some more of the comic book writing variety. So definitely lots of fun there. So we're back at 4 p.m. Today's the first day of the Fox Cities Book Festival. Thank you for being here. And again, thank you, Nick.
See you soon.
Bye.